Hi, how are you? Welcome back to biology. How's the weather where you are? It's raining here in sunny Scotland. So, before we start today's video, let's try and remember what we did last time. So, we talked about cells. 4 different types of cell. Why don't you pause the video and have a think about what we talked about last time about the 4 different cells, see how much you can remember. Okay, well, let's see if I can remember. So the first cell we did was an animal cell, which had its cell membrane, its nucleus, and its cytoplasm. That was pretty easy. For example, a cheek cell or something like that. All the DNA is in the nucleus. Cytoplasm, where chemical reactions take place. Cell membrane decides what comes in and goes out the cell. Okay, next was the plant cell. Our plant cell also had a cell wall, and it had, I believe it had a vacuole. It's like a bubble of liquid or air, something to help the structure of the cell, as with the cell wall. It also had some chloroplasts, I believe they're called, as well as a nucleus. Okay. Another one was it was the fungus, wasn't it? It was the yeast. The yeast cell was pretty much the same as plant cell, I believe. It had the nucleus, but it didn't have chloroplasts. It had food granule things. I believe it had a vacuole, nucleus, vacuole, cell wall, membrane, cytoplasm, and all that. And then the 4th one, if I'm not mistaken, which I usually am, is the what was it again? Animal cell, plants. Oh, bacteria. That's it. Bacteria cell. The different types of bacteria cell, which can be seen under a microscope. But a regular bacteria cell, I don't think it has a cell wall. It's got a membrane, and it doesn't have a nucleus. It's got a circular chromosome, and also possibly some placids, plasmid, that's it, plasmids, circular plasmids. I think they have the cytoplasm, but they don't have the nucleus, because all the DNA is in the circular chromosome and the plasmids. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, it's got a cell wall as well. Okay. So I believe that's what we did last time. So what we're going to do today? Well, today we're going to look at other types of cells, in particular amoebas and specialized cells. Okay? So first of all, let's talk about amoebas. So an amoeba is basically the same as a yeast cell. Yeah, so everything has a cell wall except for an animal cell. So an amoeba, you've got your cell membrane. Amoeba's got a nucleus. It's got the cytoplasm. It's got food granules, and I believe it's got a vacuole as well, if I remember rightly. Yes, it's got a vacuole as well. Nucleus, vacuole, food. And it doesn't have chloroplasts because it's not a plant. Now I was wondering, I don't think it's got a cell wall either. I was wondering about this. I didn't know whether an amoeba was an animal or a plant. Amoeba. because I heard they could move, and so that made me think, is it a tiny animal? And I asked Siri. That's a great thing about education nowadays, is it's very easy to find information. You just ask Siri or Alexa or whatever is on your phone. Is an amoeba a plant or an animal? Do it now. Ask your phone. Is it an amoeba a plant or an animal? Well, what I found was it's neither a plant nor an animal. It's in a different kingdom altogether. It's not in the Animalae kingdom or the Plantae kingdom. It's the Protista kingdom. So they can move, and they can move. It's really interesting. They can stretch out their cytoplasm in different areas. So they can like put cytoplasm out there, right? And then they can basically turn the cytoplasm into a kind of thicker gel, and this is called a pseudopod. Pseudopod, which means like a false leg. I know, you can't make this stuff up. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. And that becomes a foot, and then they can pull the rest of it towards that area. So that's how amoebas can move, apparently. So I think it's really interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Life, which is quite a terrifying science fiction film. I think it starts off with an amoeba. But my most worrying story about amoebas is, did you know that they have brain-eating amoebas living in the water of some warm countries in America? So I remember reading in the BBC News about a young woman who went swimming, and this brain-eating amoeba got into her body somehow and started devouring her brain. And maybe I shouldn't be talking about this in this kind of a situation, but I mean, to me that's gross. I mean, how are you supposed to defend against that if you don't know about it, right? You know, it's I think more people should know about brain-eating amoebas, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm sure not all amoebas will eat your brains. So those are unicellular organisms. There are different other types of unicellular organisms. For example, one I saw in this book is called nummulites, and nummulites are the largest ever known single cellular organisms, which became fossilized. So I don't know when they were around. I don't think they're around anymore, but they were fossilized. So maybe they were around at the time of dinosaurs. But they were the size of tennis balls. So they were this big. And they were so cool that Egyptians used to use them for currency. And the name nummulite comes from the Latin for a small coin, because that's what they resemble, small coins. So it's funny the things you find out about. Another unicellular plant organism is called Chlamydomonas, which I'll just try and draw it for you here. The one in the book looks a bit like this. It's got it's kind of a long moustache type thing. It's got a C in the middle, and it's got the nucleus there. So the nucleus is in the middle. This is a big semicircular chloroplast, which is conveniently in the shape of a C. It's got food granules in the chloroplast. It's got cytoplasm, cell wall, cell membrane, as most plants do. And it's got these things, which the book itself doesn't say what they are. I mean, at first I thought, are they antennae? Is it a moustache? What is going on here? And I asked my phone, can Chlamydomonas cells move, and apparently they can. So these are little tails. They're called flagella. Flagella, plural. Flagellum 1, flagellum 2. So this is actually the back, I suppose. This is the front. So it would wiggle its two little flagella to shoot along and do its moving planty things. And apparently some plant cells can move. Just because it moves doesn't mean it's an animal cell. It could be a plant cell, or it could be a protista. So those are unicellular organisms. Now let's talk about specialized cells. What did we learn about specialized cells today? Well, there are different kinds of specialized cells. And did you know that the human body has more than 200 kinds of specialized cells? Doesn't sound like a lot, actually. I thought it would be more than that, but that's what it says. There are more than that. Did you know that there are more than 200 different types of specialized cells? There could be 1,000 or 1 billion. Anyway, some good examples of specialized cells are the nerve cell, which sends electrical signals down a fiber, an insulated fiber, no less. So that's quite interesting. That leads to a part of physics, insulation around electrical wires to keep the signal in, or to protect the signals. What else? What other types of specialized cell have we got? We've got the red blood cell, which is kind of like a donut shape to increase the surface area. No nucleus in a red blood cell to allow more room for oxygen. They're also small and versatile, so they can squeeze through small spaces, squeeze through blood vessels and things like that. You got white blood cells, which can change shape in order they see a bacterium and they move towards it, and they stretch out to engulf the bacterium, and then they absorb the bacterium and they start to digest it using enzymes, and they break it down, and that's how they help protect the body. White blood cells, of course, can also produce antibodies to protect you too. Root hair. If you've ever pulled a plant out of the earth and seen its roots, on the roots you might see little hairs. So root hair cells also have large surface area in order to help the root to suck up water and minerals. And I guess it's just a normal plant cell. It just looks a bit like a head. So you've got the nucleus and the vacuole, all the usual stuff: cytoplasm, cell membrane, cell wall. And I don't know if they've got chloroplasts in them or not, but hey. Pollen cells. There's two different types of pollen cells. You've got spiky pollen. The spikes are to help your pollen stick onto like the bee's knees, for example. Or you've got pollen with air sacs, which allow it to be blown along by the wind. These are all quite cool. And last but not least, palisade cells are found near the surface of leaves, and these are just plant cells with extra chloroplasts, because they need to do more photosynthesis in order to produce food. And the last one in the book here is a sperm cell, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. You've got a long tail there, or flagellum I suppose it would be, for it to swim along and get to where it has to be. Okay, presumably that's the nucleus in the head area, I imagine. No chloroplasts in a sperm cell. Don't be ridiculous. So that's it. These are the different types of specialized cells that I have looked at today. Fascinating stuff. Hopefully you found it as fascinating as I have, especially the whole case of, if you're reading a book and the book introduces something new to you, you have no idea what it is, there's no context, just look it up. Just ask Siri about it. I didn't have to spell Chlamydomonas to Siri. I just asked it, can Chlamydomonas move? And it showed me a video, and I was watching a video of little Chlamydomonas moving around like they're having a little party, little green balls, like green M&Ms, just sort of scooting around under a microscope. So, I mean, all of this stuff is great. You've got all of this knowledge at your fingertips. What are you going to do? Look at memes? Look at memes all day? You know, or you can actually use all of this amazing knowledge out there to learn something new. So that's it. That's all from me. I've gone over time, 16 minutes. Oh dear, but I've done a better review as well, so I'll let myself off. So that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. See you next time. Goodbye.